My ears were ringing. All that I could see was dust. I groaned, pushing myself off the floor covered in rubble. I stumbled around before placing my hand on the wall, wiping the dust out of my eyes. Name? I heard April's voice echo around the broken lair. I stumbled past the cement and rubble on the floor, looking around. Wait, where's Raph? I asked. I don't know. Help me get this off of him, she said, putting all her weight into pulling the cement off of Master Splinter. As she pulled, I pushed, making it tumble away. Name! I heard Raph's voice. I'm all right, I shouted back, before pushing another rock away. When I didn't see you, I thought you were... He paused, and saw Master Splinter covered in rocks. I looked up to see his face fall, and raced over. Move, I ordered April. I knew Raph would make quick work of the debris. Sensei! Master! He called out, tossing aside the heavy concrete. He's going to need a room. Go find a medkit, I said. I rushed into the room with the radios and quickly grabbed a blanket, kicking any spare rocks away. After placing the blanket, Raph set down Master Splinter. April rushed in with the medkit and placed it down next to Raph. Raphael, Master Splinter sighed between gasps. You must save your brothers. Stop Shredder. I opened up the medkit and handed some bandages to Raph, while April opened up the package. We finished patching Master Splinter up and heard a sudden beeping. April raced over, tilting a screen. It's some sort of tracker, she said. It's Donatello, Raph said. He looked back to his father. Go, he said weakly. Let's go save my brothers, Raph said. He raced over to where the fight commenced and grabbed his brother's weapons and placed them onto his shell. We need a ride, April said. Well, let's get going, I shrugged, while April rushed off to the payphone. I shivered as we walked through the sewer halls. I wasn't really used to being this cold, but I do need to focus on these new powers. April rushed up to a ladder and opened up a manhole cover. I climbed the ladder after her to be greeted by the bright light. I rushed myself up and waited for Raph. Raph quickly pulled the manhole cover back into place before rushing beside me. Donnie can look for something to turn you back. We will figure it out, Raph said. I looked over, seeing April waiting around the corner. Did she mention who her friend was? I asked him. Didn't really say much. We heard the sound of a vehicle approaching, making us duck out of sight. We watched behind some trash cans as a van rolled past us and a door opened. Channel 6 News. Must be a coworker. April rushed by and waved her hand and walked up to her friend. What's with the hat? She asked. Oh, I just thought I would bring a hat, her friend said nervously. I quickly rushed to the back of the van as Raph followed suit, picking up the lock. I looked over to see April talking to her friend. Eric Sachs has taken the turtles to his estate. We have to go now, April explained. You got it? I whispered to Raph. Almost. I turned to see Raph quietly opening the doors and climbed in. I saw April's face hold confusion and disappointment as her friend continued to talk. Raph climbed in, and I motioned for Raph to close the door, which he managed to do so the exact time. April backed away slightly and saw Raph at the corner of her eye. Raph slammed his hand onto the headrest of her friend's seat, making him jump as he shouted, Drive! You're a talking turtle, he said in disbelief. Yeah, and you're a talking human nerd. Now that we've got that out of the way, hit it, Raph said, and backed away. I saw April trying to hold back her laughter. All right, wait. How did he? Did he? Never mind, he said as he turned the key to start the van. The ride was quiet for a long while, but every so often, the guy who I came to know as Vern would peek over towards Raph. One of those times, he found me, saying that he didn't even notice me. I couldn't shake off this weird feeling I had, and I kept finding myself going back to the brothers. I hope we can save them, I said. We will, April told me with a sad smile. It was when Vern started talking about how much he considered yoga and other trainings. He was talking about the whole story about his experience with yoga before April pointed to the gate. Ram the gate, Raph said, making Vern laugh at his order. Ram the gate? This is Channel News property. I said ram the gate, Raph shouted, making Vern jump. All right, everybody, strap in. I braced myself as we crashed through the gate and pulled to a stop. Gunshots were fired, making us duck. We managed to crash through another door before Vern backed up. Raph rolled his eyes before he jumped out of the side of the van, making a huge hole. Raffy! I scolded. He shrugged at me before punching a foot soldier in the face. Another quickly ran up, trying to shoot Raph, but he dodged and punched him in the stomach. He shook his arms off and opened the driver door. Follow me. Vern and April nodded before I jumped out of the hole. Raph ran inside with us, following behind him. He raced ahead and took care of a couple soldiers along the way. We rounded a corner before another holding a gun turned to us, making Vern and April duck. I paused but raced forward alongside Raph, avoiding the bullets while Raph ran on top of the metal tables. The soldiers started to target Raph, who was barreling toward him at alarming speed. He flipped off the table as bullets bounced off his shell and kicked the soldier in the face. As we ran through the door, we looked to see another soldier waiting for us. I quickly waved my hand, shooting frost out of my hands, and made the gun freeze, while Raph punched him in the face. I looked up to see cages, glass cages, with the three brothers hooked up to machinery and ivies. Leo! Raph called out, worried. About time, Mikey panted. They look pale compared to the last time I saw them. My heart broke when we rushed to them. Raph tried to punch the glass with his fist, but it bounced back, making him stumble a bit. He growled, grabbing his sides to break the glass, when someone called out, Raphael! Glad you could join us. It was Shredder. I could hear the smirk on his face as I looked to see Raph backing away and readied himself. The fourth cage is for you, he exclaimed. He yanked his arms down to bring out his knives. Raph went to attack Shredder, while he managed to grab Raph by the throat, making him groan and pushed himself forward, but was failing. I rushed around the cages, looking back to see Raph being flung to the platform and slammed into a cement pillar in the roof and fell to the level below. That's harsh, man, Mikey mumbled. I turned to the cages and placed my hands onto the glass cage. I focused, my hands stinging, and frost slowly traveled up the glass. I felt cold metal wrap around the back of my neck, causing me to gasp before I was flung back. I didn't have time to look around when I noticed Raph trying to climb back up the platform before I collided with a pillar. I groaned, pushing myself off the cold floor as Raph managed to get back up. Shredder made his way toward me. I went to go for the punch, but he grabbed my hand, pulling me up until Raph grabbed onto his back and pulled him backwards, making us tumble. I screamed as we fell over the edge of the platform and collided with the ground. Name! Raphael! April screamed. I looked up to see April and Vern at the top, looking down at us. Shredder was the first to get up, with Raph following close behind him. Focus on me, he huffed. He raced toward him, making Shredder turn and kick Raph in the chest. Name! Grab my hand! April called. Go help them! I have to find a way up! Stop the ivies! I shouted. I went from hallway to hallway when I finally managed to find a staircase. I could hear the fight still going on and stumbled upon a familiar hall. I raced in and found April and the cages. I'm here! I panted, falling to the floor. April was trying to get to work on the screen to stop the ivies. Heading over to Donnie's cage, I froze the glass agonizingly slow. Hang in there! I shouted. Name! The adrenaline button is locked! It needs a passcode! April shouted. Vern came rushing with a chair and tried to break Leo's glass, but was unsuccessful. I pushed myself harder into the glass, hoping to crack it as it froze. The amount I was staining myself was starting to hurt. Try being on Donnie's, April called. Vern slammed the chair into the cage, making it chip. I gotta keep freezing it. Also, I need another chair. I will try Leo's as well, I called. Vern quickly placed a chair next to me, and I stood on top of it, placing one hand on Leo's cage while the other was still on Donnie's. April quickly raced toward us, slamming into the bottom of the glass, making shards fall to the floor. Their heart rates are dropping fast, Vern said, glancing at the screen. I screamed. The sting sensation burned in my arms, and my hands were becoming unbearable as hot tears streamed down my face. Raph! I shouted. I hope he could make it up here to help. Stay awake! April screamed, continuing to bang on the glass and make a hole big enough to crawl underneath. Vern! Quick! Look for an alternative! I called, pushing myself harder onto the glass. I got it! April shouted. I quickly moved to Mikey's cage. Donnie, come on! She pleaded, struggling to get the leather straps off his wrists. Vern! I called out. There is nothing on these desks! He shouted. The sound of crashing could be heard before rapid footsteps followed. I rushed back between Mikey and Donnie's cages. I could hear the sound of stumbling, looking over to see that April got the straps off of Donnie. I looked up to see Mikey not moving, and Leo kneeling down with his head hanging. No! I shouted. Vern broke into Leo's cage and climbed in. I pushed myself as hard as I could into Mikey's cage. The glass cracked, and I managed to push my way through, my arms finally giving out. I quickly shook my arms, trying to bring them back to life and kick the glass. I climbed in while April kicked the remaining glass on Donnie's cage before dragging him out. More tears fell down my face while I worked on taking the straps off of Mikey. Leo was dragged out of his cage by Vern, and April called him over to help her with Donnie. I unstrapped an arm, only for it to fall limp beside him. No, 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 no! Mikey! I called out. I rushed to the other strap and managed to undo it and detach the ivies. Taking the glass off and pulling Mikey onto the ground, Raph weakly crawled up to the platform. Raph! April shouted, trying to do chest compressions. We need a dive fib! April, go find it. I need to get to work on Donnie, Raph said, limping over. I shook Mikey, trying to get him back to life, but his skin was cold. I tried checking for a pulse, but there was none. We need more than two, I shouted. I could only focus on bringing Mikey back to life. My arms were exhausted, but I kept pushing through. Michelangelo! I shouted, but there was no response. Time seemed to be like forever. This moment felt like forever. My ears were starting to ring as tears flew down my face. The sound of crying and shouting were echoing through my mind. I was yanked off by Raph, and April and Vern placed patches along his chest and waited. With shock after shock, round after round of chest compressions, there was no life brought back to any of the three brothers. The world was silent, unmoving. Time had stopped. Shredder had left. Sax had their mutagen. The brothers were dead. Raph and I were silent. We failed. Not only to follow Shredder and Sax, but also we failed the city. We failed Master Splinter. We failed the brothers. We need to go, April whimpered, sobbing. We can't just leave them here like this, said Vern. Name? I looked up to see April. What? I asked. We need to go. Raph stood up before he helped me up. After we walked back out of the Sachs estate, Raph stayed behind. I felt myself wobble, trying to keep myself standing. I could hear April and Vern stop and turn. Raffy? I called out weakly. I'm not leaving them behind, Raph's voice rang. I turned the corner to see Raph picking up Leo. I felt more tears run down my face, still crying at the loss of the turtles. We will bring them home, April told me. Vern, can you find us a ride? She asked. I'm on it, he said. Come on, I will help you with Mikey, April told me. We put the brothers at the door and waited for Vern. It was taking a lot longer than I expected, so Raph opened the door to see a group of foot soldiers talking about Vern and where he went. I watched as the soldiers looked at us. They readied, and Raph charged with an angry, pained scream. He dodged the bullets while April and I ran off the side of the door to avoid being shot. Bullets ricocheted off the walls and bounced all around us while we flinched out of sight. I tried making an ice spirit and waved April over. Come over here, I called. My hands stung as I touched the ground in front of me and pulled with all my strength as an icy shield appeared in front of us. The bullets slowed down around us before falling. April and I sighed in relief before we heard another gunshot. The warm trail left behind the bullet was also bounced off the walls. April gasped, knowing it would come straight toward me. I put my hand in front of me and curled up, closing my eyes. Only nothing happened. I opened my eyes to see the bullet had pierced my side of the ice and managed to stop it. My heart was racing faster than before, and tears rolled down my face once again. Oh my God! I almost just died! I shakily pointed. Raph, are you good? I could hear April ask. I don't know why I'm laughing. You're in shock, April told me. Find Vern. I was pulled out of the hug to be faced with April. Hey, I need you now, she said. I know, I laughed, more tears falling harder. We got this. Right now, if we don't move, the world is at stake. I managed to contain my possible mental breakdown and pull myself off the floor. Ralph had raced over. "Vern's got a truck around the corner," he called. I don't remember climbing into the back of the truck, but we did. The ride was silent. Ralph had me sit against the wall and kept a lookout. "What are we going to do?" I questioned myself. "Where would Shredder be going? What do they want with her blood?" "Probably something evil, of course," said Raph. "We should be knowing which Sack's buildings would be used." "Which buildings? So far, Sack's built 5 buildings in the city instead of his own. Would he really be that stupid to finish their plan on top of his own building?" "I don't know, but we're going to have to try," Raph sighed. "You should get some sleep," I suggested. "If you're going to face Shredder again." "I'll figure it out," is all that he could say. I curled myself as the slight sway of the truck was all that occupied us. Every time I tried to think of something, my mind kept going back to the estate, everything that happened. Silent tears streamed down my face. I bit my lip, trying to keep myself quiet. I shivered until I was returned to normal. My skin was no longer shades of blue and white. I closed my eyes to see the flashes of what happened, making me jump slightly. I looked up to see Raph had noticed. "Sorry," I sighed. "No need to apologize," he huffed. As we approached a highway, we were enveloped in darkness. We came to a screeching halt, making us stumble. A few things fell over and something landed on my foot. "What's going on?" Raph shouted. I raced around the corner and yanked the door open. April came racing out of the truck and stopped in front of us, with a horrified look on her face. "What happened, April?" I asked. "We're too late." "What did they do?" Raph asked. "They released something into the air. There are people calling in everywhere in the city for ambulances." I realized. Sachs mentioned to me that there was a disease that contaminated the open water in Japan. It killed and infected millions of people. He was looking for a cure when he worked with our fathers. "We don't have water," said Vern, rubbing his eyes with a sigh. "They contaminated the city's water supply. We're all going to be infected if we drink the water," said April. "People even recorded it." She pulled out her phone of the video and showed it to us. "What are we going to do?" Fern asked. "I believe my family had a house on the outskirts of town. It's going to be a long drive, but we need to save Master Splinter." "Then let's go get him," said Vern. "But what about the possible contamination?" I asked. "I'll take the sewers," Raph said. He was very pertinent about going alone, and we watched out for Sax and Shredder if they escape. "We're going to need bottled water and try to make our supply," I said. "I have a small amount of cool science projects," said Vern. "I'm sure I could figure it out, but then again, it's been 5 years since I last made one." "We're going to need Donnie's supplies," said April. Already ahead of you. We turned and saw Raph holding Master Splinter, still injured, but was still out of it, and a bunch of Donnie's equipment. "Let's get to the house and start preparing. Once we have everything we need, we're going to take them down," Raph growled. "Let's go," said April, and made her way toward the passenger seat. I looked up to Raph. "We will bring them to justice," I said. "I know," Raph said shakily. "Shredder, Eric Sachs, you will be stopped."